I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Dr. Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. We'll have the Dallas Cowboys Hour coming up at that time here on Double T 97.3. High School Fan Zone. Yours at 6 on 100.7. The Score also have Monday Night Football tonight, beginning at 7 on Double T 97.3. We'd love to get your thoughts and comments throughout the program today. Always welcome and encouraged on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can access that at Double T 97.3.com or through the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. Look at this on the chat line. Tahj and 7 or 8 exclamation marks. Yes, that is the big story of the day. Tahj Brooks announcing earlier today with the tremendous clip from Wolf of Wall Street that he is coming back. He's not leaving. He'll be back for the 2024 season. Gigantic news. Really can't be overstated how big this is for the Red Raiders. And you kind of, I think Kenny Perry kind of, touched on, he may come back in immediate availability last week. And then you saw Cameron Valdez enter the portal on Friday. And then I think if you're a Tech fan and you're kind of paying attention, you're daring to dream a little bit like, could Tahj come back? And then lo and behold, he's back.
Yeah, I saw half freak out of, oh, great, when this one hurts. And then the other half, okay, well, Tahj is coming back. And, yeah, lo and behold, it was the Tahj is coming back.
And he'll have a chance next year. And, his season's not done. I assume he'll play in the bowl game. He's had a chance to set the career rushing mark, which I don't know that I thought that was even possible before the season started.
Yeah, and that's the guy that you were hoping to take the next step as he turns into the sole back instead of split time with Sir Roderick. But, I mean, the incredible year that he had, plus, hey, if he has 1,200 yards, less than what he got this year, I mean, he is over Handspar. And that is just wild to think about. Like, if you were to go back just 6 months until, like, past AD or past Gus, like, hey, Tahj may be coming back, and Tahj has a great chance at being a all-timer in the career standpoint for Tech. It would have been, I don't know if I believe you.
And it really seems like, Gus, that this Tech staff is probably not batting 1,000, but certainly at a Hall of Fame clip in terms of key players returning for like a super senior season.
That news of him, of course, we've already had some ripples. Right. Cam's jumped in. Now he's going to play this weekend, but, Valdez, but you're right about the portal and, some of the success they're having. The only numbers that we're not seeing yet are, and I'm only saying that because Coach McGuire himself talked about wanting to get 3 linemen, that's the one group that we haven't seen yet. Now, we'll see. There could be good news coming or already out there for that matter. But 2 tight ends already and a marquee tight end, it appears, with West Texas ties, which is cool. I mean, just a really interesting weekend, punter, all that stuff. But Tahj was between Tahj and Ohtani, I mean, we had just welcome additions all over the place, right?
I don't know that Tahj is making $700 million.
You know what? I almost hope he's not. I mean, not that I would that might just throw our pay scale off if he is.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Tahj needs to be at the basketball game tomorrow night. That would be an awesome celebration. Basketball.
I agree, because those guys will be leaving on Wednesday, I believe, for bowl game.
I think you're right.
That would not be a hard thing to do. Roll them out there at halftime.
It feels so kind of cheated that the bowl game is this Saturday.
I know, it's so dang early.
Because I've really I really like having that 4-week layoff where you kind of just forget about how awesome football is, to where it doesn't matter if you're playing in the crapinabag.com bowl, like it's football, right?
Yes,
it's Tech football. But this, I mean, that Texas game is still pretty fresh. So
yeah, it used to be that bowl season was maybe just the weekend right before Christmas, but ESPN owns so many of these bowls now, or the broadcast rights to so many of these bowls. It's much, much, much easier. I'm not saying I can do it, but it would be much easier to come up with a list of bowls that they don't own. And what they've done is, very predictably spread them out so they're not on top of each other. And what it'll do over the next few weeks is give us games on a Tuesday night and a Wednesday night, and spread it all over, spread the love all over. But as far as you and I are concerned, it's here it is. The team's about to get on a plane in 36 hours and be gone, and this whole deal will be wrapped up Saturday night.
We will, of course, have coverage, boots on the ground for you from Shreveport, Louisiana, with the bowl game taking place on Saturday. Our Optimum Game Day live coverage starts at noon here on Double T 97.3, and we'll take you all the way up to network pregame at 7 o'clock. Kickoff at 8:15. Our road to Shreveport coverage on Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score is brought to you by Pollard Ford, Hub City Body Shop, Viva Land Group, McGavick Nissan, Twin Peaks, and Wild West Harley Davidson. And then we'll have multiple shows from Shreveport on Friday.
Very good. Heck yeah.
That? You ever been to Shreveport?
Good coverage. I went in 06, good Lord. I went in 86, and because we had moved here in 78, and Tech had strung together a bunch of bowls, like the Rodney Allison years were right before we moved here. And so we hadn't seen a bowl until that was 86, fall of 86 was my sophomore year at Tech. And so it was, a bunch of us went, and we road tripped it and went over there, and, a bunch of dudes in the hotel room and did all the things and had a blast. But yeah, went there and then went back in 98. So I've been to both of them. Yeah, I'm 0-2.
More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. We get this on the chat line. Now we just need an O-line.
Yeah, I understand. That's and we know that's a priority and a focus. They had 4 in on visits 2 weekends ago and have made several offers, and here we go.
Yeah, I think that I'm not sure. Like, I don't. You can't control when you get a yes, right? And they got a yes from Jalen Conyers, which is really, really big. That's he's someone that was being pursued by a lot of big time programs, or at least some big time programs. You got a yes from what seems to be your top punter target, the Weber State guy. I think Jack Burgess is his name, Australian. He was the finalist for, I guess, the FCS Punter of the Year. You got a yes from that quarterback from West Georgia. You got I'm coming back from Tahj Brooks. So it's been a bunch of good news. You just haven't gotten any yeses yet from the O-line.
You know what?
But it doesn't mean they won't be coming.
Interesting thing about Conyers is looking at his numbers. Like he plays some kind of wildcat backfield stuff, and that's a big dude. That's like a guy in his 260s, maybe bumping up to 270, and to be back there in a sort of heavy run game is really interesting when you think about West Georgia quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know how much of this is, and I say again, relating it to our conversation last week, I don't know how much of this is him, the West Georgia quarterback being a guy that's going to, be the second string quarterback necessarily, but rather red zone, short yardage, that kind of stuff, in some special packages. And with him and Conyers, that could be kind of interesting to watch, kind of interesting wildcat situation. And then you throw in Tahj Brooks in there, like that's it'd be fun to watch.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I think Tech should take what they make on this bottom of the barrel bowl game and give the chump change money to the players who are on the roster. Okay.
I could probably guess that there won't be a money they make on this bowl game. I bet there's not a profit turned on this bowl game once they travel party and all of that goes. These usually smaller bowls they're not profitable. You may break even. They're obviously not. I mean, I would assume they're not selling.
It doesn't sound like they're flying off the shelves.
Right.
Right.
And we've got the things, the obvious things. There was probably a number of fans, probably DFW based fans, that had made plans to be in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that number is. Maybe it's 4,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, but even if half of that, I mean, that's a big number for that Shreveport allotment.
That's your bowl allotment. Yeah, that's a big chunk of it. And so the whole deal gets kind of dicey. But these smaller bowls. Now, what'll happen is the conference pools all the bowl allotments, and a lot of expenses get covered with this. But I don't know that there's enough of a net to really represent, I think, what the texture is getting at.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Ohtani won't finish the 10 years. That's ridiculous.
Say it again.
Ohtani won't finish the 10 years. That's ridiculous.
Okay. Is that a fact related to the contract with the Dodgers, or is it just our texter saying he just won't be there? He's only 29. Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, him hitting to age 38 is not out of the question there. 38, 39. Albert Pujols just did it to 40, 41. Now, if the texter's saying he won't be a two-way player at that age, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Already had 2 elbow injuries, and what his pitching window is going to be like. And we know it'll supposedly reopen. I mean, the plan is that it'll reopen. He'll be back on the mound in 25. Will he pitch for 25, 26, 27? I heard Jeff Passan when this hit on Saturday afternoon. Heard Passan on I think it was one of our networks. I think I flipped over to 97.3 or 100.7 and heard him talk, and I'm like, oh, he's this is an ESPN national thing, and he was discussing the fact that, and he didn't give numbers to this, but he said the international marketing opportunities. Well, let me say it this way. He said the marketing opportunities for the Dodgers around this signing won't pay for, basically won't provide the $70 million each year, but it'll come close. And I thought that's really fascinating. I would love to read about that. And that may be something that comes out over time. And then he mentioned Neymar and Mbappe and guys like that, like he was mentioning them in the same breath with that, in terms of the amount of money that'll be headed the Dodgers' way as a result of this. And I thought that was a fascinating statement. It doesn't surprise me, but for him to even imply that it's going to get up
because it's a big number.
Yeah, it's good that it's going to get up towards $70 million. It probably tells you that A, the Dodgers, and B, certainly the agent, felt like they had a handle on that number. It's really interesting.
Paolo says this, AD, those Texans sure crapped the bed yesterday. How is it that they win games no one expects them to win and lose the ones you think that they would win? It's funny. There's I don't recall his name, but there's a gambling kind of insider. It's fairly mainstream that does threads every Saturday before college football starts and every NFL Sunday, where he kind of goes over line movement and 80% of the public is on this, or 80% of the money is on this, whatever. And he said that sharps have been hammering Jets, +3 or whatever it was all week.
Really?
And so I was after seeing that, I was not just shocked that they lost. This in the chat line from Duff in Houston. Tahj going to need name tags for the receiving corps next year.
Yeah, not necessarily, but I get. I mean, that is an amusing thing to think about. But I imagine it'll start with Aiken, Boyd, and McRae. But I'm sure
the law firm of.
I'm sure and then the other law firm is the three freshmen, West and whatever.
Crest and
West
Baston,
and Crest and or whatever. Yeah, that's that is
the
kind of
law
interesting.
firm to you,
Yeah,
West and Crest.
I like it.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. How can $700 million be justified?
Yeah, I think I just gave it to you in that regard. Now, if that's more of just how is an athlete paid that? Well, the doctor who cures cancer isn't. I can't speak to the societal ills there. Taylor Swift is a billionaire. I mean, if the question's going to that, I don't have an answer. If the question's going to a real how are the Dodgers paying $7 million? One note about that contract is he's deferring a ton of that money, so it won't affect them competitively now. So the Dodgers may be like Bonilla, paying it out over 20 years or something, which is their business, and Ohtani's as well. But I think the international market or the marketing dollars that will come in internationally related to Ohtani probably answer the question.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey there, how you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T973.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. We're joining you today until 6 o'clock. We'll have the Cowboys Hour starting at 6 here on Double T 97.3, followed at 7 by Monday Night Football, Green Bay Packers and the New York Football Giants, 6 o'clock on 100.7 The Score. We'll have the high school fan zone. You know what interests me the most about Tahj Brooks returning is that you will have all offseason as an offensive staff to tailor what you do to some degree to his skill set, to his ability, to his, potential, all that stuff. Because as great as his season was this year, as surprising as it was, they didn't go into this year going, hey, we're going to really feature Tahj Brooks and he's going to have 1,400 plus rushing yards, right? Like that was almost born out of necessity when Tyler Shuck went down. We saw that against Wyoming and Oregon where Tahj barely had any rushing attempts, and then once the West Virginia game, happened the way that it did with Shuck getting injured and then Morton getting injured, you had to lean on Tahj Brooks. And so I'm curious what they do different. And maybe not much. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go suddenly and be a triple option team. But, you have this strength now, and you have 9 months to really kind of accentuate it as much as possible.
And you're asking this question, and I totally get what you're saying. And they're going to ask the same question of themselves in Stillwater, as they have the other All Big 12 running back who was a sophomore this year, so he'll definitely be back, who had 19 carries in the first 3 games and then ended up, blowing the roof off of it. But both of those teams had emerging star running backs that will be able to, Ollie Gordon, who we're talking about there, but we'll be able to factor them into the plan. You think about all the touches that Tahj got this year, and some would say not enough, but I mean, like in the nation's top 10 or whatever.
Right.
And as you're saying, this offense really wasn't tailored for him. I mean, not specifically. It blossomed quickly, but it really will be interesting to see what that looks like, because I don't know that it's just a blunt force 35 carries a game. I don't know that. But what other creative ways are there to get him the ball? But because I think the way the running game was called for him in terms of the types of runs that were called for him were the things that he does well. In other words, they weren't running a bunch of jet sweeps with him. He was running a lot of stuff between the tackles.
Can you imagine?
I know. It'd be fun, like watch him take on corners and see what happens there.
The most exciting 3-yard losses you've ever seen in your entire life.
or trucking a corner, or one or the other. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's there will be really will be a curious thing to think about, and they'll be thinking probably about some load management with him, and all the way they'll have to do this that keeps him around for the entirety of the season.
And it gives you another year to spin up his heir apparent, whether that's Bryson Donnell or someone else. Because I think Cameron Valdez is a nice player when he's healthy, but I was not just super confident about handing the keys to the backfield to him, But Tahj, he just solves all those problems. And
the staff is excited about the 2 true freshmen they're bringing in, and I don't know at what level that excitement is. If it's like, oh, this is like ready, or if it's we're excited about the future of these guys. I don't know, don't need to know, but as well as the staff is recruiting, I'd be surprised if these guys are just big projects. Hopefully they make it into players their senior year. It just doesn't seem like that's the mode this group is recruiting to these days.
Yeah, and this helps Barron, right? This helps those receivers. This helps your defense. I mean, it really is one of those. It's a win for everybody, and I definitely wasn't expecting this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, we all went through the season concerned about it, and then there became, sort of a line of whispers, maybe right before and coming out of the Texas game, like, hey, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It sounded like the tone of this, like, okay, well, that's, and then the immediate, maybe not immediate, well, probably, but the immediate post bowl feedback was that Tahj and those guys were going to play, or Tahj specifically was going to play in Shreveport, which didn't necessarily mean he's going to be back next year, but it wasn't a, hey, I'm opting out to get ready for the combine or whatever. So, all right, and it felt like the whispers got a little louder, and then then you see you saw, I like the Valdez and the portal thing I heard about, I think before Taj's tweet. I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think the sequencing was right. Like, well, all right, that maybe
canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, that's a better way to say it. Not that they're connected, but you could see where they'd be associated if Valdez thinks that wanted maybe a little more of a role next year.
This on the H. Flooring Center chat line, we had some good tight ends this year, but never utilized them. I hope that changes. I mean, one of them missed 5 games, right, to an injury. I think another one had a shoulder injury all season. That was
kind of a career shortener for him, Cup.
Yeah,
that shoulder thing, like it sounds like he is done with football because of just the rigmarole he dealt with trying to play and get harnessed up, and
Yeah, and he was dinged up at A&M too. I mean, it's really kind of an unfortunate story because just tons of potential.
It really is fascinating thing about Tharp, and I don't know about if there's if it was a tough luck situation or conditioning can get him into more of an injury prevention mode. I just don't know the nature of his injuries to know what we're dealing with there. But yeah, the thought of him and Conyers as weapons, and again, I would paraphrase probably everything you and I are saying and a healthy Baron Morton.
Sure.
Because it's so hard to really talk about that.
This in the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Justin. I imagine they'll use Conyers like Jay Samaro.
Ooh,
this right. From our friend Dan in Dallas. I already bought tickets for the family for the basketball game in Fort Worth. Sure hate missing the bowl game, especially with it being so close.
Yep, I agree, and I mean, I hate it too. I wish it was if the football game was if the basketball game was a one-off. In other words, it was a single game and they had scheduled it for 6:00. If and if Texas Tech fans were going to dominate the crowd, that they could move it up 2 hours, and that Vanderbilt might say, "Yeah, that's fine with us." But it's like game 3 of a triple header, I believe. And there's just no way to move any of that.
Just a perfect storm of stuff.
Yeah, it really is. Because if that hoops game was at noon that afternoon or whatever, that would be that'd be a heck of a day.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey there, how you going? Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Gus and Clint. I'm Aaron. Hope you're having a Stringfellow Hawk day. We're with you today till 6 o'clock. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com.
Fired up for this Packers Giants game tonight.
Oh man, just super fired up.
I mean, 2 pretty good NFL brands that seems so awful. That game right there just seems awful tonight.
It's mostly the Giants because the Packers have picked it up a little bit, but at the same time, you're right. Like I am looking forward to their these classic teams from the NFC kind of build up
Lombardi,
and then seeing Tommy DeVito run on the field for the Giants.
Yeah. Take it easy.
Somebody sacks him. All
right, gabagool on 3.
DPI says this. Hello, fellas. I sure hated to see Mahomes acting like a 2-year-old who didn't get his way yesterday. If he needs to yell at anybody, it needs to be that idiot teammate of his.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a stat that Kansas City receivers have dropped 8% of the passes that Mahomes has thrown them this season. That's the most for any single quarterback in a single season in over a decade.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
That's
a big time outlier.
I mean, I've seen these receivers are dropping everything. You can't just. It's not just complaining about drops. There's legitimate statistics behind them that show this receiving core is inconsistent.
Oh yeah. And the thing is there's some weapons in that group. Tony among them. That are
for the other team.
Get that dude in some space, and I'm sure that's what they had in mind when they put that thing together. Hey, we got some burners, and I mean the drops and the fumbles and
which is something else doesn't get pointed out is a lot of the fumbles this year and turnovers have also been from the wide receiving room for the Chiefs.
Yeah, we were texting about it in a group little thing. I was like, man, there's going to be some of those Chiefs receivers in the portal next spring. They're going to be. I mean, they're going to have to address that room. Goodness gracious!
Were you, vein popping out of your neck, ticked off yesterday, or are you kind of the mind that hey, they've had so much success, if they're going to have a down year, it's fine?
I was actually having this conversation with Jamie. I've had to remind myself like how fortunate the past 5 years have been, especially when you do the bookends of like Trent Green at quarterback to Alex Smith at quarterback, because those years, which were the bulk of like me growing up and being a Chiefs fan, were garbage, especially at the quarterback spot. But I mean, as an entire team, I will be honest though, as I try to tell myself that the vein was popping out of my head. It went from a 15-second swing of this is the best play that's ever happened in professional football.
That game was unbelievable. I mean, that play was unbelievable.
Of course, they have found a way to lose again, and of course, it was from the receivers.
Yep, I agree. I'm not a lifer like you, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the kitchen like yelling at my wife and daughter who are looking at me like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Come on, watch
like,
this. Come on,
you need
this.
to see this play, man. This is crazy. Because even they have watched enough football to know, the guy running down the field and just firing it 25 yards across the field, letting the dude walk in for a TD doesn't happen. Oh, wait. Oh, there's a flag. Okay.
It was one of those plays that can we still have like half of the points? Just give us 3 for it.
I saw I guess it might have been last night during the Sunday game, the Sunday night game. One of their ref guys on NBC, all the TV guys was talking about, he was addressing Mahomes' comments, and he said, that offensive offsides, just somebody lining up offsides, which is what that was. That wasn't a guy jumping. Lined up offsides, was called twice last year. And it's been called 11, like across all of football, it's already been called 11 times this year, which isn't an insane number. That's once a weekend across the sport. So, but it clearly, to me, when you saw the deal, there's no doubt he was lined up off sides. But I think all of that was showing our guy number 5 is frustrated. Like Patrick Mahomes is geared up. I mean, and it happens to the best of them. I mean, we saw.
Why are you pointing at me?
We saw a 19. Well, I'm thinking of our double rods from.
Hey, Dickens, you're a pylon.
From Graham Harrell.
Sure.
Like it happens to the best of them.
You're a bleeping bleeper.
Yeah. And I think, I think he was barking at the side judge and all, but Tony knew because he was sitting over there like.
Did he? Because that would have been the first play he was aware on last night.
Well, you may be right, but he was sitting over there like. I messed up.
Yeah.
Like my quarterback just went after the referee. That's me. But you're at the point in the season where somebody else going, hey, that one's on me. I don't want to hear it, man. In week 2, okay, but like that thing's been been a mess every week, and they all get into that receiver room and look around like, so you screwed up week 5, right? Well, I got 2 and 12. What about you, Dickens? Which one did you get? Oh, well, I remember I dropped 2 big ones in week 9. Oh, yeah, perfect.
Boy, that's
big
depressing.
Ones.
That's depressing.
It is.
So do you have an issue with how he reacted?
Well, I mean, he was. It's not defensible, but I'm saying he's clearly. If he did that all the time, it'd be a bad look. But he was frustrated. There's no doubt. He's wound up.
A bad look is right. I thought. This isn't something we'll take away condemning him and go, I guess this is who Patrick Mahomes is now. He's just flying off the handle. But it was rough to watch, and then it was rough after the game, him and Reed both doubling down in the comments, and then him, handshake line, whatever, with Josh Allen, and his words are, that was the worst blanket call I've ever seen. Like, it just seems so out of character, but it's not something you should go like, oh, it's fine. Because it wasn't good. There's
no pattern here. It's not like he does this every year. He did this every week. And I don't think this is 3D chess. He was sending a message to his receivers to pick it up. No. The dude's frustrated, man. Because they've lost 4 out of 5, right? Look at Clint. He's in denial. Yeah, whatever.
I've just blacked it
Change
out.
the subject. Right? Isn't it 4 out of 5?
I think you shut down. You shut
I'm going
play
back.
Your own.
I need my own music.
Well, play your own music.
Hey, spin your
our music.
Pokestops later. Sending myself emails.
I don't think that was it.
I just clicked while I was scrolling up to the right one, so I'm sorry for the false email sounder.
It's all right. When we come back, Clint's going to tell us
Clint
that the Chiefs
is
have
very
lost 4 of their last
flustered.
5.
More Tech Talk next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey there, how you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Clint, can we just do like 70s game show theme for the rest of the afternoon?
That's what I can do.
Perfect.
4 of 6.
4 of 6, not 4 of 5.
Yeah. 7 of 9.
Because that's so much better.
With Gus, Clint, I'm Aaron with you today until
Thank
6.
goodness.
Love to hear what you have to say on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. This person says in the chat line, how is Tahj coming back? Good for everyone. He is unlikely to have the season like this year. Him staying is risking a lot of potential NFL money.
Well, I think the NIL could be used to offset some of the NFL money. Now, I think your texter might be assuming that there's going to be NFL money, you write that with the confidence that there's going to be there. I don't know what his top end speed is, or if you want me to be less jargony about that, I don't know what his 40 time is. He's probably, given the relationship that our coaching staff has with as many pro scouts as they do, headed up by Sammy Morris, that's his specific area, somebody's probably been able to give Tahj an accurate number. Hey, you're going to be drafted in the 5th or 6th round. Hey, you're going to be an undrafted free agent, whatever. I think somebody has been able to give him a sense of that. And somebody else, and along those lines, somebody could probably project and say, you're talking about this much money most likely next year. The risk would be not taking the NIL that's probably been arranged for him to stay at Texas Tech next year, to go to camp next summer with an NFL team, not make a team, or be on a practice squad and make, I don't even know, $30,000 or some, whatever that number is, and then you've passed on this NIL. And so I think he's been given a certainty with the money that he's being given at Texas Tech next year, as opposed to the possibility of some NFL money. If he was a second, third round pick, I don't think this is happening. I think the texter is exactly right. Why in the world would he do that? I don't think he's as much of a NFL lock maybe as you might think he is. I hope he is. Hope he has a 10-year career. But when I saw Sir Roderick walking in front of me at the soccer game, at the NCAA tournament game at North Carolina, I'm thinking, the season's still going on here. But that's what I'm saying. Sir Roderick, pretty good player, and was in some camps and did some things and got to make a little bit of money, but not.
Yeah, so practice squad salary is $12,000 a week. I assume that's just in season.
Right.
So that's, $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000 over the course of the season, which is a lot of money to a lot of people.
You bet.
Myself included. But that is obtainable, right? You could get there or close to it with NIL. If you start talking about a 5th round draft pick, at that point you can't. It'd be hard to get there NIL wise, because you're talking about a signing bonus of $200,000 to whatever $1,000, and then a contract that's worth $1 million plus. But I mean, listen, this is going to be his draft status is going to be entirely about his 40 time, and his 40 time is not going to change that much between now and 18 months from now. And so I think Gus has nailed it. There's a cost benefit analysis here for Tahj Brooks, and coming back and playing one last year of college football with a guaranteed amount of money, a place that you presumably enjoy with a staff and teammates you presumably enjoy. I mean, it could be a lot worse, like delaying adulthood for 1 year when you're not some kind of surefire 5th round draft pick or better is not the worst. And he can take out insurance policies for, any kind of worst case scenario. But to the first part of your question, how is Tahj coming back good for everyone? It is good for everybody. I mean, he's getting to do what he wants. It's better for Baron Morton, right? You've got somebody that takes a lot of attention lining up to you in the backfield. It's also therefore good for the receivers because you're not going to lean on a fairly fresh crop of wideouts to carry the offense. It's good for the defense because I would assume that you'll be able to sustain some drives next year and keep them off the field a bit. It's good for everybody. I agree that odds are he probably won't have the same kind of season this year or next year as he did this year because hopefully you'll have a bit more of a life in your passing game, and so you won't need to
some balance.
Yeah. And maybe he's involved in that too. But he's got a chance to leave this place as the program's all-time leading rusher, which is a pretty special thing.
Mm-hmm.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Is Tahj Brooks returning because he wants to improve his draft stock? Is it a wise decision? Yeah, I don't know that there's much he could do, Gus.
No. I think it's I think he's in camp with somebody. And I think if he came back, he's in camp.
He can play in the NFL.
Right.
I don't doubt that.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And this is a conversation about what is the draft status, and I think a lot of that would be tied to, given the toughness, his ability to break tackles, physicality, all that. But he's not 6'4". This isn't Derrick Henry running around. The top end speed isn't off the charts, and so I don't want to say he's just a guy, because we know he's more than just a guy. But it's not. It's not like he's a top 5 running back or anything. And so, but I think as a college running back, he's a fantastic player, and this is a great thing for Texas Tech. And I'm excited for him. Like, I think it's a cool thing for him because, in my mind, this is how NIL should work, right? We're not recruiting high school players with it. We're making a kid's life better because of what he's already done and what he could do.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.